kids. So, every once in a while I get the opportunity to go to a house that I had been to a long time ago. I was actually at this house 20 years ago, give or take a year. And I started drawing it as I walked up to the house because I was curious about it. And homeowner was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to be getting home around 1:30, and I was here at 1. I was kind of drawing it, laying the house out, and I immediately was drawn to the fact that kind of challenged how it's sitting in the ground. You know, I hadn't been on this road much. I thought it at all, but sure enough, I had. Kind of funny I said that coming in now that I think about it. Because I know the houses in the areas where I have a lot of trouble, you know. So I start my spiel, my typical, oh, here we go, let's start with the gutters, because they're 4-inch gutters. But you know, if I don't start with that right out of the gate and let you off the hook that you might have tied them together and all that, because I've done this enough to know that we're going to be in a really awkward place after you tell me all the things you've done. I say it's wrong. If I just rip the Band-Aid off in the beginning and say it, it's just for the good of all of us. So keep that in mind when I do that and as you watch these things. It's just to spread the word. I don't own a gutter company because I don't want to confuse the issue. I assure you, I give them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Because almost every house I go to, I talk about it. So 6-inch gutters, big downspouts, always the plan. We don't want to tie them together. So there's downspouts on the front of the house, collection box, they're going into the ground. We're not quite sure exactly if they're all operating properly. So the big thing is, let's get the new gutters, let's get them put in dry wells, let's at least get them put on the ground. So the water that rolls off the street here, to really deal with that, you're gonna have to cut open part of the driveway, put a collection system in like it's at the bottom over there, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. That's a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole nother thing to do. Putting a berm at the driveway itself, an asphalt berm, will keep and sheet some of the water by. So that would be your minimalistic approach up there. As we make it down here, so these cracks that are in the wall were here 20-something years ago, and the house opened. Now, this is the epoxy that was put on the wall, and there was an injection in there, and boy, I don't see a lot of product in there. So I wonder how much product actually got in there, but they probably just skinned the top of it because the bottom was all they actually injected because it's below grade. But it wasn't my company. I was responsible for them. And by the way, this company is not answering the phones, and I used to work for them. My nice little drawing here, my name at the bottom. So I'll fix this house. If my name's on anything, I'll fix it. Anything. I don't care where I worked. I don't care what it is. We should never be afraid of it. We should always be able to embrace ourselves. Now, at the time, we talked about fixing cracks because there's actually a couple broken above the door, but now we can see that the building's actually walked its way about 1/8 of an inch to the rear, and we see that in the siding. Now, if we manage this water properly, the house won't move. We have to remember that's the why, because as we come back here, we know that the back of this house has to be filled to some extent. Now, the house was set on rock. Now, when a house is set on rock, it can slide on top of the rock. It's not set like it would be in virgin soil. Plus, we're not always sure what kind of rock we get around here in Jefferson County. So, at the end of the day, the deflection is ever so slight. I mean, you can barely see that siding starting to peg out. And again, 20 years ago, in 03 or 04, those gaps were there then. So every cause and effect, action and reaction, we don't have enough to be getting excited. But when we see beat down like this, where the ground splashes back up, we know we have an issue with the gutters, and we know that that's an easy fix. So the good news about this is water management, like on the back of this. Best to just have it on a splash guard running off than going into black pipe. Even though it is coming out the side here, black pipe, it's not aliphatic. The sun chews it up and will completely kill it. Animals can get inside to eat. So, and damming the water up coming down a wall. I like to see things pitch away, but again, I'm the dentist that tells you to floss before you brush, and who does that, right? So, at any rate, you need to know. But I asked him, do you have a dog? And he's like, well, I do, but this is the beat down of the water that comes through here. So, ultimately, with this tree being in play, we really don't have the option of like a French drain or something to run the water, because if we put a French drain in too close to the house and it fails, then we kill the house off. We're going to do a dig and seal, get this all cleaned up, get those cracks all sealed nicely. I'm going to have them clean all of these up. They look terrible. They're peeling off the wall. So we'll get them all tightened up. We'll get a good look on things, and we'll start to monitor. That way we have more of something to look at and watch. So these are just things, this all walked kind of in unison. So at the end of the day, water management is important, but every once in a while in this business, especially when you've done it for 30 years, you're gonna come back to one you've been to. Don't be afraid, give me a call. This is Stephen from Waterproof Solutions. Thanks a lot.